Thank you for joining us. I really appreciate it. This is really exciting. You cannot have a TechCrunch event without a pitch off. TechCrunch since 2008 has ran a program called Startup Battlefield, and we've had nearly 1,000 companies go through that program, and these pitch offs are a small part of that. I would encourage you, if you have a startup this March, please apply to be in Startup Battlefield. This year, we expanded the program from 20 companies to 200. And now we're looking for even more. So please apply in March. If you're accepted, you get free tickets to TechCrunch Disrupt, you get free exhibition space, special programming, and a chance to pitch on the big stage. Out of the 200 companies, we picked 20 to present on stage as the Battlefield 20 for a chance to win $100,000 and the Disrupt Cup. And we don't take any equity, that's your money. So with that, let's get this thing started. First, I'm going to bring out the judges. We have 2 judges for you today. We have Wen Lam. Wen, she's a partner at Gradient Ventures. Previously, she was the CEO and co-founder of Next Travel. Grew it to $100 million in annual sales before exiting to TravelPerk in 2020. She received her BA from UC Berkeley in economics and her MBA from UC Marshall School of Business. Next, we have Will Nelly. Will is a general partner at Galaxy Ventures, which focuses on early-stage investments in protocol layer infrastructure, DeFi applications, and software products. Will started in research at Galaxy Ventures, where he developed a quantitative risk software for trading. Before Galaxy, he built incentive simulations for Foam as an intern. He holds a BS from Stanford in mathematics and architecture. Give him a round of applause. Okay, before we bring out the first company, I want to set the ground rules. These companies have 4 minutes to pitch. We have up to 5 minutes to ask questions. The judges are going to be evaluating the companies based on their potential for impact, either socially or financially. And with that, let's bring out the first company. Presenting first is Personal Digital Spaces. Presenting for DPS is co-founder Lori Fenna.
Thank you. So, welcome everybody. Wow, it's booming. I'm happy to be here, and I know everybody's probably feeling a collective, a little bit survival guilt, but the good news is we're all here and we're all building. So, on that note, I'd like to introduce you to Personal Digital Spaces. We're a property rights protocol for the information economy. Also attending are my co-founders, Edward Jaskovsky and Igal Vayner, both of whom have had decades of experience delivering essentially the scaffolding that propels our information economy today. What we do and what we're addressing is a big problem, and it's a problem I've been working on since the dawn of the internet and the beginning of the web. It's trust. A lot of discussions earlier today were about how do you trust the web? How do you trust crypto? And how do you, when you're moving around online, what information is collected, what information is shared, how you get paid for it? We've seen a lot of issues around this. I know that many of you may have read about the Walking Dead lawsuit, where they're trying to, get paid for the intellectual property, around their movie as it moves through the economy. Also, we've noticed in the NFT marketplaces where there aren't ways to pay creators as the NFTs move around on websites. In the Web 2 world, we've also noticed that the infrastructures like terms of service agreements that are easily changeable by the platform sort of bring people on under one set of terms and then later change their terms and monetization programs and leave people high and dry. So what we really wanted to focus on is how do you create a system of trust? Shouldn't everybody understand when they're sharing their information and IP on a platform or across platforms, how do I say this is mine, this is how I'd like to offer it, and this is how it needs to get rewarded? And how do you make sure that that's not just taken care of on a single platform, but in the Web3 world, when your information is moved across entities and across platforms and across chains. So a real-world situation is, say, a creator creates an NFT or an avatar and a bunch of additional, assets, and they'd like to move them not just onto one platform, but use them across many platforms. We've created a system where you can, very different than NFTs or coins, it's not just simply a buy-sell of a particular item. We create a system where you title it, you license, then you can attach licenses to it for how that item can be used, and you can also exchange value, all on the chain. So when everybody looked at the blockchain and said, this is a great distributed ledger for crypto, we looked at the blockchain and said, aha, this is a great distributed ledger for IP. And being able to quickly and easily know who owns something and also what kind of terms are related to that item's use, and how do you, on-chain, not requiring an exchange or a marketplace within an application, how do you make that connection between what's available, who wants it, and how does it get paid, all within an application? We created something for developers by developers. Okay. So we created something for developers by developers. It's an API. It's not something that you would be required to know anything about smart contracts or blockchains. We're blockchain agnostic. We run on a layer across all blockchains. Open for questions.
Thank you, Lori. Will?
Sure, thanks so much. Can you walk through exactly what the mechanics, so as I understand it, there's an NFT that represents some intellectual property. What actually is the contents or the metadata of that NFT?
Sure, the content stays, this is a super great question. The content remains in the content system, either in a database or a content management system. The metadata about that is registered on-chain. Who owns it? And then all of the additional licenses are also exist on-chain using our APIs. So you register the asset, you attach licenses, all of that on-chain, and then there's literally a buy-sell fabric that also is on-chain. So it doesn't require third-party settlement.
And are those, so the URI to the underlying content, is that in a decentralized file storage system, or is that in your the PDS servers?
Everything is running on a layer of smart contracts that are out on the nodes, right? Actually, all of our business logic and all of the transactions are decentralized, running on nodes.
Got it.
And the other thing I'll tell you is I am the least technical of all three founders.
Sure, that's okay.
So anybody that'd like to really understand the architecture and how things are running, please check us out. We're at a table out there.
Yep.
But I'd love to take a deep dive on that.
Awesome.
So my questions are really around actually getting your product to market. What kind of companies are you seeing adopt this? What does your traction look like?
Yes, we've been adopted mostly. We started out in the healthcare industry, so being able to share information that's HIPAA compliant, so that actually information about a patient, although it's stored within a hospital system, and they have the ability to have a license to their data, and within an application share it to whomever the patient wants to follow up on care. So we've worked with a number of hospital applications, medical applications. We've taken for a very large foundation. We've managed healthcare records across many different clinics that for Rohingya refugees. Hundreds of thousands of people that don't have access to healthcare do it. And all of their information is licensed to them and registered to them on the blockchain. So when they show up at a clinic, they can scan their face, and all of the information about all the clinics that they've ever went to just magically shows up in an app, all through licensing.
Do you mind sharing what stage of the company you're in? When was it founded? What stage in financing are you, as well as what traction are you seeing with customers and in the development of the technology?
Absolutely. We started out actually solving problems using this technology in a family incubator. And we founded the company in 2017 with real customers and applications in the healthcare industry. Mm-hmm. We have applications and enterprise customers using us in media, healthcare, public safety. One of the companies that's just launching on our platform is a digital evidence management system, so that instead of you have a virtual evidence room, just as secure as a real evidence room, and it's virtualized, so sharing evidence across many different jurisdictions and many different companies. So we have dozens of real applications and enterprise customers working on our system.
Great. Well, thanks so much, Lori. Give them a round of applause.
Thank you so much.
Okay, this is a really big stage. There's a lot of walking back and forth. Next we have Cityverse. Presenting for Cityverse, we have Joe Hamilton, head of network. Joe, how are you doing?
Hello, folks. Hello, Wen. Hello, Will. Thank you for being here. Hello, TechCrunch friends. I'm Joe Hamilton. I'm the head of network for Cityverse. I'm going to put a load of ideas in your head in the next 4 minutes, so please buckle up. So Cityverse, we're going to start with a problem, and that is content has changed drastically with the advent of the internet and with social media. People expect to participate in content, and they expect expertise because all the information's out there. And because of that, local newspapers, the traditional models don't work anymore. The attention is too scattered for the subscription and advertising model to work, and so local news is suffering. And because of local news declining, communities have become fragmented. They are not aligned. And what cities need is a platform for cities that brings the community back together, and we're building that. Cityverse is a platform for cities powered by local news. As with all great platforms, you have a profile. It's like a social media platform. You have a profile for your local persona. Here's an example of our profile. One of the cool things as we start to bring in Web3 concepts is every profile comes with a wallet. Every home space, comes with a wallet and an NFT gallery. And we'll show you some of the use cases for that in just a second. After home spaces, we have create spaces, and this is for anyone creating things in the local community, in the city. So this is artists, this is nonprofits, this is organizations, groups, whatever, shops. We'll give them the tools to express themselves and do business and connect on our platform. And then every great city is defined by its public spaces, and so we have that as meta spaces. And so these are places where people can gather and have discussions. So say there's a city council vote on a noise ordinance next week, someone can have a thought leadership session where they say, hey, we're going to gather and talk about this, and the community can come together, have a stage, bring people up, and have conversations about this noise ordinance and come to consensus on how they feel about it. Additionally, once we get our content up onto the platform, it creates life on the platform, which we can then add value to with things like giving artists galleries on the platform and then aggregating that art into local art markets. So you can have a now virtual version of a city art market in the Cityverse. At the core of this, I mentioned, is local news. So we've been running the Catalyst, which is a local news platform in St. Petersburg now for 4 years. We're killing it. We have 11,000 subscribers. About 250,000 people interact with us a month, which for St. Pete's size is pretty significant. And it is the politicians and the CEOs and a lot of the thought leaders in the company or in the community that are doing that. But we're going to augment that with content mining tools. So here's kind of the magic where we make newsletter tools for neighborhood associations. We make sports reporting tools for schools, so that rare and important local information that used to be in the local newspaper can now, through social media strategies, come back up onto the platform and sort of reassemble that hub of local information. And then we can get more granular with things like idea portals, where we can put kiosks in museums or in nonprofits or studios where people can upload their content as well. We have 2 tokens. We have a stable coin, which will be only useful. It's almost like an in-game currency for the city. It's only for transactions on the platform. And then we'll have an equity token, which is part of our scaling model. As we go into new cities, if you live in that city, you can buy a piece of that Cityverse and participate in its success. As we're down to 48 seconds, I think revenue might be an awesome question to ask. Here's our team. We're still kind of a baby company, so we're 16 members and growing. Just hired our first developer today. Some of our traction, like I mentioned, 250,000 touch points with Catalyst in St. Pete, 11,000 subscribers. And we're growing our Cityverse waiting list every day because we're already doing partnerships. So last weekend we did a partnership with a local half marathon, and a ton of people signed up. And when they get on Cityverse, their home space and their NFT gallery will automatically be populated with an NFT. And what this does is it starts to introduce Web3 concepts to the masses. They don't have to do anything. They just show up. They get a profile like they're used to with other social media platforms, and this NFT is there. We're doing a town hall in the future around other topics with artists. And proud to announce a couple local investors, Tampa Bay Rays, have invested. They like the concept enough to put our name on the mound, which I thought was super awesome. And just announced last week that Kathy Wood has invested. And from those orgs, Brian All, the president, and Kathy have joined our board of advisors, which is now 2 awesome people. And that's Cityverse. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yep.
Are you sure you want to have your name on a sports stadium? That hasn't worked out for others.
Anything's up for right now. So.
Right. All right. When can we start with you?
So how are you signing up cities, and what cities have you signed up?
I'm sorry?
How are you signing up cities?
NFTs. So NFTs will have tons of use cases. The traditional ones, like you're an artist, you can have them in your gallery. We also want to use them as part of our incentive structure. So if you do a beach cleanup, that nonprofit might give you an NFT. And then we want to game, I like to say we want to Pokemon Go a city. So essentially, we can incentivize good civic action and reward that through different systems, almost like a game. So if you do participate in creating great content, sharing great ideas, amplifying other people's messages, and doing other things that are civically beneficial, you can earn rewards for that, some of which express themselves as NFTs. Also, we'll do partnerships with local theaters, and we sell tickets to the theater. That might include an NFT, which would then go back to your gallery so that you can say, hey, I went to the show. It becomes a source of civic expression, but it also gives exposure to that art and to that show or whatever that people went to, because now their ticket stub is in their gallery. So a lot of it is about sharing the ideas around the city. One of our golden rules is no financial incentives. So when you hear me talk about use cases for this, everything is going to be about building civic awareness, building understanding of what's going on, sharing ideas and things like that. So we're trying to reduce monetary value around our NFTs.
Awesome presentation. How do you think about when you're actually signing up cities, and I like where Wen is going with this question, are you going and signing up cities on from a top-down level, and you're going to the agencies or the bureaucracies or the government to or City Hall and so on and so forth to go get people on board, or is it bottoms up? And if it's bottoms up, what are the demographics that you think are most likely to participate in Cityverse and be early adopters of the program and then spread it out within that community?
Awesome question. So the core of every Cityverse is going to be Catalyst News. So part of the sort of Trojan horse of this is as we spread Cityverses, we're actually spreading a really effective local news network as well. So we'll go into a city and build that news to get our traction. People will come for the news. Then we'll reach out to civic leaders, as we've already done with Catalyst, like city council, the mayors, the heads of nonprofits, and get their content onto the platform. And essentially we'll have a plan for looking at small businesses. We want to profile influencers, and those people then will share organically their presence on that. People come for the news. And then because we have the meta token, that's the one token I didn't get into, we come in as the parent corp and own 100% of the tokens, but we want to sell those as equity tokens to people in the Cityverse, which then gives them a buy-in. And so it starts with some of those investors, some of the politicians and leaders that way, and then the journalism itself. It's a multi-pronged approach, I guess, is the answer to the question.
Which use cases are you seeing being used most commonly?
Well, because local news is at our core, I think use cases around nonprofits, around civic action, around the community connecting and wanting to, we have platforms for friends and family, we have platforms at the neighborhood level, we have platforms at sort of the art and creator level, but people who want to connect around their actual physical lives in their city, but augment that through this virtual tool.
So you have this kind of, it's all in some ways wrapped around this like local news app, which is, I'm assuming, given that it's crypto, is more decentralized with people publishing their own, news. How do you deal with moderation
Yes.
of that news? Like, so if people are generally contributing to a particular channel, maybe it's the Tampa Bay channel.
Yeah.
How do you deal with moderation of that news? How do you know what's good and what's bad?
Sure. So that's a big and important question. So because we're giving tools out, we sort of fence it. So anything that's outside that tool, so if you're a neighborhood association and we give you a newsletter tool, that's yours to do with as you please. But for that to enter our distribution, we do moderate every piece of content, including comments that come through. We moderate for civility. So we don't moderate for what the idea is. You can have controversial ideas, but if you say them in a way that shuts down the progression of the conversation, or is just is insulting, then we don't allow it. And we've experimented with this on the Catalyst for 4 years now. I thought it was going to be a real briar patch, and it actually has been one of the easiest and most refreshing things I've ever been through. And that people will talk and will say, "Here's why." Why we didn't put your post up, because you said this great point, but then you called the mayor a name at the end of it. Can you take that out and put it back up? And 9 times out of 10, they say, "Yeah, thanks. I'm just used to talking that way." And we've really had almost no stress around expecting people to be civil. And I think that works best because it's local and because journalism's at its core. So it kind of gives you two culture setters that are a little bit different than the vast, wide, anonymous internet.
Great. Thank you so much. Give them a round of applause.
Thank you.
I like people that are trying to do news things. Local news is important. Okay, last company for today. We have Moonstream. Presenting for Moonstream is CEO Niraj Kashyap. Come on out. Give him a round of applause.
Hi, everyone. Hello, judges. Hey, Matt. I'm here to tell you about Moonstream, moonstream.to. We build economic infrastructure for Web3 games. Web3 games have become a very important part of the Web3 ecosystem over the last couple of years, starting with the rise of Axie Infinity, which has a game economy whose value is measured in like billions of dollars. Since the success of Axie Infinity, many game developers, like traditional game developers, have identified that, integrating Web3 into their game, first of all, is a great source of, funding, an alternative source of funding compared to how they normally raise money. But even more importantly, it's a way to build much more engaging and immersive games with the collaboration of their player communities than ever existed before. So a large number, not like a majority or something, but a large number of traditional game developers are starting to integrate different elements of Web3 into their games. One of the biggest challenges for these game developers is that as soon as you build a Web3 game, your game economy becomes a real economy. So the way that you thought about a game economy and the way that you tuned your game economy to be more entertaining or engaging to players, all of those lessons that you learned go out the window because all of a sudden, you need to think like the Federal Reserve managing the US economy rather than a game developer managing the World of Warcraft economy. So the biggest, as soon as you have a game that has some amount of traction on Web3, your biggest problem is, how do I make sure my economy doesn't crash? How do I keep the economy healthy? And that's the problem that we help games to solve. So before Moonstream existed, the way that games did this, the way, for example, that Axie did this, was they would take the money that they raised from their NFT sales and just spend it on marketing to new players to bring new players into the ecosystem. The image that I put next to that strategy shows you what I think about that, right? Besides that, they've been trying to create staking programs. These work similarly to US Treasury bonds, where players stake in currencies into a staking smart contract, and then they earn a monthly yield on that currency. It's a reasonable strategy, but it's one-dimensional. What we do at Moonstream is we've identified, there's two important principles to a healthy economy. The first principle is that the people who are participating in the economy should be able to produce in that economy. And the second principle is that there should be, taxes create value. The reason that the US dollar has value is because the US government accepts only US dollars as the denomination, the currency in which you pay your taxes. So based on those two principles, we offer a variety of features on our platform that help games maintain healthy economies. So we have on-chain mini games, on-chain crafting, Minecraft style, We allow games to deliver rewards to their players for activities that they do. We have leaderboards that incentivize players to act in a healthy manner inside the economy. And we run security bots as well to make sure that the economy is protected against bad actors. The way that we charge $1,000 per month to anyone who wants to know what's going on in an on-chain economy. And then for game projects, we charge as an infrastructure provider. We charge them 10 cents per interactions that their users make against our platform, against our smart contracts and our APIs. This year, we launched last November. This year, we've done over $4 billion in transaction volume, over millions of transactions, and the numbers sort of are there. And I'm out of time. This is me. This is my team. Thank you.
Very good. You had Will nodding along at the end when he saw those numbers, so let's start with you.
Sorry, what's that?
You were nodding along when he was
yeah.
presenting the numbers, so I'm hoping to start with you.
Yeah, I mean, congrats on the traction and
Thanks.
your success so far. I'm going to ask a general question because there's a lot of game developers and Web 2 developers who question why even bring in Web 3 or crypto into a gaming, into a game system and create a game economy. What are the biggest advantages you see?
So game developers really do care about user-generated content. This is something that is very important to game developers because it helps them to scale the engagement and entertainment with their game beyond what they as a single company are capable of. And Web3 just dials that up to 11 because with Web3 you can actually give your users equitable incentives to create content for the rest of the player community. I think that's the most important dynamic that we've identified in Web3 games, and that's if your game isn't really taking advantage of that, then it probably doesn't have business being a Web3 game. But the people who are building good Web3 games really understand this very fundamentally, and that's the important thing. So players creating content for other players and getting rewarded proportional to the value that their content brings to the community.
And then how are you getting these Web3 games to adopt you?
Sorry, I didn't
How
hear
are
that.
you getting adoption from these guys, I guess, in some ways, instead of having them build it
Word of
in-house?
mouth these days. So our largest customer is a game called Crypto Unicorns on the Polygon blockchain. Other games see what they've been doing with Moonstream as a platform, and that creates a lot of conversations for us. Also for very successful games, in Web3 gaming, the model of how games are built has really changed. What's really important is the player community and the world, the shared world that they inhabit. Any particular game developer doesn't actually matter. That's what decentralization means here. And so in a single game universe, the guys who get it, they're inviting other people to develop games for their player communities, and they're sort of opening up the community. They're tearing down the moats or the walls that around their player base, because that's what really creates value economically. And so in communities where we have a good presence, any new developers who come and start building games in those communities, they naturally just use our platform because we already plug into the economic data, we already have the on-chain mechanics, and so that's how we grow. Yeah.
One of the big open questions, I think, for me and some others is to what degree, what parts of the gaming stack live on-chain, right? There's this kind of distinction between the gaming logic itself and the application logic itself and the capital markets sort of logic which Web3 is bringing into gaming. Do you have a perspective on where Moonstream would participate in that game? Are you focused on just the capital markets, or does the gaming logic and application logic go on-chain?
So we don't dictate how our customers do things. We have customers that are fully on-chain. We have customers that are hybrid. They have a game server, and then they have on-chain stuff, partly hosted by them, partly hosted by us. The on-chain games the games that we build, the game mechanics that we build, are fully on-chain because we really think that's the future. So our position is the more of your game economy that's represented on-chain, the better it is for your project, basically. You should ideally be looking to represent as much on-chain as possible, and so we build everything on-chain, but our customers choose what they want to use from our platform, so they can be hybrid if they want. Yeah.
Interesting.
Anything else? I got one. Why is this important to you?
me and my entire team were avid gamers, and I understand that like the kind of games that I want to play, that I want like my children to play, they can only exist with this kind of decentralization in mind. And so that's what sort of like got us started. And then yeah, we've just sort of been riding the wave ever since. Yeah.
That's a great answer. Give him a round of applause.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.